Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Are You Listening with Abigail Richardson. I just want to say thank you. If you are back for the third episode, thank you. I can't actually explain how much it means to me that everyone keeps coming back for more. I'm really enjoying making these episodes, editing these episodes, and so far, the feedback has just been really good. So I do want to keep going, and obviously you guys liking, commenting, sharing, all of that good stuff is what keeps me going, and obviously it keeps me able to keep making episodes. So big thank you. Just wanted to say that, and we'll get into the episode. Today I wanted to talk about something that probably has been on my mind for around a year or so. I'd say about a year. For anyone that doesn't know, I have been self-employed and running my business for nearly 7 years. Well, actually, I've been self-employed for longer than that. I've actually been self-employed for a lot longer than that. And I was a makeup artist before I became a lash tech and running my lash business. But in September, it will be the anniversary of me running my lash business. So for the last year, I have really thought about where I want to be, what I want to be doing, and how I want to be running my business. And the one big thing on my notes app this week was the sentence, I don't want to be a girl boss anymore. Now, if any of my clients are listening, please don't panic. I'm not going to be giving up lashes anytime soon. If lash bays are listening, I'm not giving up being a lash tech anytime soon. I love my business, but I don't want to be what the idea of being a girl boss is anymore. I'm tired. I am tired. I really wanted to kind of talk about that. And I wrote some notes, so if I do keep looking at my iPad, I'm not reading a script or anything like that. I've made some notes that I think is really, really important to basically for me to touch on. And I'm really hoping, and well, do you know what? I'm not even hoping. I can guarantee there is a lot of people, self-employed or not self-employed, that will really relate to this episode. And I really think it's something that's not spoken about enough. The idea of that hustle, that graft is something that is honed into us as women nowadays. And I don't know, I just think, but what if we don't want to do that anymore? So let's get into the episode and let's talk about it. So I've been feeling this one, for I'd say about a year or so, and I know I'm not the only one. Like I said, I've been self-employed for a long time and nearly running my business for 7 years. But at the end of the day, you become self-employed and you start running a business for freedom and flexibility. Yes, I love doing lashes. Yes, I love making people feel good, and I love the creativity that comes with running a business. But ultimately, most people start running their businesses because they want the freedom and the flexibility. And then, unfortunately, how it works is a lot of the time you then find yourself working more than you did in your employed job. So it's all well and good craving that freedom, craving that flexibility, but unless you do it right or you know how to do it, you will end up working a lot more. You end up micromanaging your own calendar and wondering, how the hell did I end up here? This is almost worse than being employed. And a lot of people don't say that. That is something, it's probably a little bit, controversial. But it can feel like that sometimes. So I kind of wanted to talk about the constant pressure to constantly be growing scale, grinding, and essentially I just don't want to be a girl boss anymore, especially leading into my 30s. When I got into what I did, for anyone that doesn't know, I will give a bit of context. I was a makeup artist for a while. I fell into my, I say full-time job, in anyone that's listening to the Spotify version of this, and it's obviously just audio, I say it, I'm what do they call that? When you do your little fingers as if like it's in quotation marks, or like, I don't know, I'm going to have to check what that's called. Someone in the comments let me know what that's called, because my mind's gone blank. But when I was working full-time, and I say full-time because I worked for a lovely lady for 4 years, and I had a day off in the middle of the week because obviously I worked Saturdays doing makeup on the side. that wasn't to do with makeup, although it initially was. I fell into it. It was a production company, it was a small production company and a photography agency, and I was there for about 2 years. Now, I learned everything about running a business from this amazing lady called Jo, who I worked for. She's incredible, and I genuinely would say that she is why I am here today. I would never have learned how to run a business without helping her run hers. So, yeah, I owe a lot to Jo. She was incredible. But yeah, after about 2 years, I don't know about, I think I was there about 2.5 years, from about like 19 to 22-ish. So maybe around 3 years. I don't know the maths. But it started to get to a point where I realised it wasn't for me. I was doing makeup on the side, but this wasn't what I wanted to get into long term. Now, I was getting my lashes done at the time, and my lash tech just said about doing a course. So I did. And, it's all kind of grown from there. But after about 2 months of doing my lash course, I decided to go full-time being a lash tech. Now, that is not something I recommend people doing, going full-time self-employed straight off the bat of a brand new skill. My quality and technique level was not high enough to be doing that, but I was 22, living at home, and my circumstances were that my parents could look after me and they could fund me while I was building things up. Now, I did a year or so of that. We then went into lockdown. It's a tale as old as time, had to shut down for a very long time. But I worked really, really bloody hard during that time off of lockdown, believe it or not. Stayed very relevant on social media, and it meant that when I came out of lockdown, I was booked, busy, ready to go. And I've pretty much been that since. And obviously lockdown was like 5 years ago now. So I've pretty much been consistently fully booked for about 5 years. And yeah, I knew at the beginning it was going to be graft. My early 20s to mid 20s, I was going to be building this business like there was no bloody tomorrow. My business was everything, absolutely everything. I was in my booked and busy era. I was in my girl boss era. No one could basically come between me and my business. And I actually became single for the first time around the time that I did my lash course. So I had only ever known, well, to be honest, like I said, I had time to put everything into being a lash tech, and it rewarded itself. I've been very, very successful. I wanted to prove myself. I knew I didn't want to work for someone else. I needed to build this from scratch. And it basically just became this whole point of like, I knew I didn't want to work for anyone else. And my God, was I not going to go back to that. And like I said, I liked what I did when I was working for Jo. I just knew it wasn't what I wanted to do long term. And to be honest, I just didn't want to work for someone long term. I really realised quite quickly that I was made to work for myself. Oh, like tripping over myself. And it was really rewarding to be that, to constantly be told and rewarded, well, not even rewarded, but told, oh my God, you work so hard. Like I was known amongst my friends, my family as, the girl that worked really hard on running a business and things like that. And I was the first one in my family to also do that. I don't know, I just felt like I really not even had a lot to prove to other people, but the validation from other people, it did keep me going. But for me, myself, my God, like I knew I needed to prove this to myself. And yeah, I will say that season of saying yes to everything, being booked and busy, working ridiculous hours, it did give me everything I've got now, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, but I am saying it worked. It really, really worked. It got me noticed by the biggest lash brand in the country. A role was essentially created for me and Liz, who I work with. A role was literally created for us by the biggest lash brand in the UK. And even now it gives me goosebumps when I talk about that, because I cannot fathom how that happened. I cannot tell you how it happened, but it was just a lot of graft, a lot of hard work. But I'd say around a year ago, maybe even about a year and a half ago, I could feel the burnout creeping in. Now, I had felt burnout before. This is not to say I've never ever felt burnout. I have. I really, really have. But it was in small doses, and a holiday would fix it, or Christmas would fix it. But it started getting to the point that even after a weekend off, even after time off, even after a holiday off, it didn't fix it. And sadly, I started resenting being a lash tech, my business. I started resenting work and everything I had built that I used to be proud of. And it's not that I wasn't proud of it anymore, but I really, really started to resent it. That came with a really weird sense of guilt. Obviously, my business thrives and runs off of making my clients feel really, really good. But I didn't feel good. So how was I going to make them feel good if I didn't? I resented clients coming in and, seeing 6 of them in a day and having to have the same conversations over and over and over and constantly having to be switched on. And as much as I would count myself as an extroverted person, the older I get, as a kid I was very extroverted, and I think as I get older I have become a little bit more introverted. So I would consider myself one of them extroverted introverts, and that's why I think my business works great, because I love talking to people and I love getting along with people, but in a one-on-one environment is great and it's how I thrive, rather than in a big group of people. It could be a little bit scary. But yeah, this weird guilt of like, well, if I stopped what can I change? If I slow down, will the success stop? Will the success slow down? Because it had only been this full speed ahead of success after success after success. And even working then with Lashbase, it was like, oh my God, I'm being so rewarded for this. Being noticed, being given more of a platform. People are viewing me as an industry leader. Clients know me in the area. I'm known in the local area as this amazing lash tech who everyone recommends to everyone. And I kind of wanted to slow down. And yeah, it came with a weird guilt. And what if the only reason I've done all of this? What if the reason I've done well? So I've written here. What if the only reason I've done well is because I kept pushing forward? Like, if I ease up now, what if everything falls apart? Which I think is a very valid, scary thought. If I've been go for however many years, that would have been 5 years coming up to 6 years. I have never known myself to slow down. How will I know that it won't fall apart? It could do. And the shift into the realization that something has got to give, and I've got to give it a go. I didn't know whether this business was going to work out the way it has, but I kept going and I've kept building. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, things feel good, but I am exhausted. I'm burnt out. I'm working 10-hour days. I'm seeing 6 clients a day. I'm working 6 days a week. My holidays, I haven't been on a holiday longer than 7 days in 5 years, 6 years, however long it had been. So I did start questioning, what if that isn't true? What if I could start to slow down and evolve past survival mode and into sustainability of my business? My life is just very different from when I started. For a start, I was living at home. I was in my early 20s to mid 20s. We'd been in lockdown. I was single, and didn't know if I wanted to have kids, didn't have a partner and things like that. And now I see the success of my business. I'm very comfortable in the success of my business. I have a partner. I'm quite settled. I do want to have kids at some point. I am going into my 30s. And I think that pressure to always be leveling up, earn more, do more, it's realising that I don't actually have to scale my business forever. It can just evolve. And again, that doesn't mean necessarily stopping. It doesn't mean necessarily... Well, it does mean slowing down, but slowing down, I think, in a different way. And like I say, evolving. I'm allowed to maintain the business as it is, refine it, and enjoy it now. And that is where I'm at. I've written here that growth doesn't always mean going up. Sometimes it means going into the life that you've built and into the person that you're becoming. And I really like that. I'm not that girl in my early 20s anymore. I am evolving, and I think my business needs to evolve with me. This time last year, when I started to feel this, that's when I really started to make a bit of a change in my business. I looked at my prices properly. I upped my prices quite significantly, which again can be a really scary thing to do. Like, I'm not saying that my prices were cheap before, but I did change them quite significantly. I upped them quite a lot. I upped them by about 50%. And obviously a lot of that comes with losing clients, trying to not compare yourself to people in the local area that are a lot cheaper than you, and realizing you are worth it. And I had to up level things in a lot of ways, and it has really paid off. It really has. And I am trying to just, I don't want to sound really cringe and be like living a bit softer, but that is the way that I view it. You know, sometimes I do want slower mornings or slower days. I don't have the mental capacity anymore. I don't have the physical capacity anymore to be working the way I was working before. Working 6 clients a day, I cannot do it. Don't get me wrong, there are still some days I see a lot of clients, but 3 clients in a day is a lot for me. It's my max. But wanting them slower days, it doesn't mean that I'm not ambitious anymore. It just means that my ambition looks a little bit different. And that, again, is the point of working for yourself. It's being able to evolve and adapt, and knowing how to evolve and adapt your business to suit the life you are now leaning towards. So yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about that shift from proving myself. I don't feel like I have to prove myself anymore. I'm now at the point where I need to protect my peace a little bit more. I think I say the problem, it is not a problem, but it also is a bit of a problem. The sort of business that I do, my business is all me. If I am not there, if I am not physically there, my business does not run. It doesn't run. And I think that can feel really heavy when you are in a front-facing role where you are with your, client, whoever, whatever you do. You can kind of put this to whatever industry you're in, or whatever your job is, or whatever your business is. But when it is something that is client-facing, it's so draining because you are your business. If I step away, there's nothing. The business doesn't run. And that is a lot of pressure. And that's why I talk about kind of protecting my peace and finding ways that I can step back without the business stepping completely back with me. I still care about my business and my work so much, and I am not willing to give it up anytime soon. But I have had to make some adjustments. Like I said, upping my prices, working less, taking Thursdays off. I film on a Thursday. My Thursdays are days off. I sometimes do some work. A lot of the time I don't, because they are my recouping days. A lot of Saturdays I work. I don't have time to clean the house. I don't have time to do my washes that a lot of people do on a weekend. And I don't want to do that on a Sunday. My Sundays are for chilling. So my Thursdays are essentially my Saturdays. And yet I still care about my work so much, but it is not at the expense of my health, my happiness, and I don't want my business to be my whole identity anymore. Like I said, I loved my business being my whole identity for a very, very long time. My God, I loved it so much, but I don't want it to be my whole identity anymore. I am still me, and I run a business, not that is my business and that is me, if that makes sense. So I am learning how to coast without... And coast is such a negative word, isn't it? Coast can be really, really negative. I don't want it to be negative. I want coast in a good way. Like in summer, work comes in pretty consistently without me doing a lot. I've had a real stressful few months, and I am feeling the effects of that right now. I am right now just enjoying the work I'm doing. Being consistently busy is where I aim to be right now. Not always busy, just a nice consistent busyness where there's enough money coming in, there is enough clients coming in, and I'm not working out of my hours, I'm not working out of my days to make it work. And it's learning to trust that the work that I have done for years and years is still there. The fundamentals are still there. And I am now just reaping the benefits more than I ever have before. You know, I'm going on holiday in September. For what works out, I'll be off work for like 17 days. I could not have even imagined. Last year I went on my first, like, I think we was away for 12 days. And that for me, that was like, whoa, really scary, really scary. This year I'm like, give me the longest holiday we could possibly do. I'm away for 17 days. Have some clients had a few meltdowns? Yes. But only because they're like, oh my God, that's a really long time. But it's fine. We're making it work. I want to normalize ambition burnout. I have been an ambitious person, I would say forever. I am a very ambitious person, and I'm not saying I'm not ambitious anymore, but I am a very ambitious person. I am. I don't think that will change. I've started a podcast. I'm doing, you know, it's not like, it's all right me saying, you know, I'm taking a step back, but I'm taking a step back to do other things. I want to build on my personal branding. I want to be able to kind of use my voice in ways that I know I'm helping clients and reach a wider audience. This is my new creative outlet. So it's not like I'm not working really hard or there's less ambition, but being really ambitious all the time can really, really be exhausting, and it actually can lead to burnout itself. And yeah, I've written here kind of the idea of ambition burnout. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to move away from what you thought you wanted at one point and now you don't want that anymore. It's okay to want an easier life. It's okay to not want to be so ambitious anymore. It's you're allowed to have big dreams, but they don't have to come with like constant graft exhaustion if you have done that for a really long time. I've written here, you can still dream big, live softly, and be successful all at the same time. Now, I don't want anyone to think I'm sitting here and saying, like, if you're starting a business, don't overwork. Because I really do think that working really, really hard at the beginning of your business, it is essential. It does kind of need to take over your life if you want it to be successful. I know that you sometimes have overnight successes that don't have to do that. But I do think you do have to put the hard work in, the hours in. Anyone I know who runs a business and is running it really successfully now and is at the point where I'm at now where they can take a little bit of a step back, it is because they put so much hard work, graft, dedication, time, energy into their business in the first however many years, and now they can step back. If I was doing what I was doing right now at the beginning, would I have been successful? Maybe not. And I don't want that to scare anyone, but I'm being really realistic. You have got to be realistic. Working for yourself is not easy in whatever way, shape or form you do it. It really, really isn't. But I don't think it is a problem at the point you are at now. Like if you have been doing this for years, and you will feel the difference between feeling a bit burnt out and needing a little bit of a break and feeling burnt out to the point where you're like, I got to the point where I genuinely considered giving it up completely because I did not see a way out of getting out of that burnout. I didn't. And it can be really hard. Like when I started pulling back for the first, once I started changing things in my business, it was so hard to like slow down. And I used to fill every space with work, every blank space with work. And now I don't do that. I fill blank spaces with other things, going to Pilates, making the time for that, wanting to spend a bit more time cooking my lunches and my dinners. If I want to spend a lot of time washing, styling my hair. And I know these seem like really, really tiny, mundane things, but when you're building a business, these are the things that you put on the back burner. I hardly would have lunch in the middle of a day. I let myself health-wise get to a really bad place because I wasn't exercising at all. And I've always been a very, very active person. I wasn't exercising. I was too busy to exercise. Now, that comes first. My physical and mental health come first. Because I have learned, if I let myself get to that burnout place again, I genuinely think I would end up giving up my business. And that is not something I want to do. Over the next however many years, I need to move my leg. You know when you get like I've got a fuzzy leg. I've got pins and needles. I've seen cross-legged for too long. What was I saying? I completely lost my trail of thought there, and you could probably hear all the rustling, so sorry about that. Let me stretch my legs out. Sorry, I stopped there for a second. I'm trying to record this visually on my camera instead of on my iPad because the quality is a lot better. With that being said, I am not sure when it cut out, so this may not have a visual. And if it doesn't, I really, really apologise, and I'm really trying to work on that. Because I just think having a visual is really... I like watching visuals rather than just listening to podcasts. But I will wrap this up in a second. I can't remember, I lost my train of thought, that's really annoying. But yeah, my goals have changed. If you asked me 5 years ago where I wanted my business to be, is it where it's at? Pretty much. But there definitely is some things. I could never have imagined I was ever going to be working with lash base. I could never have imagined that. Literally never. So God knows where I'm going to be in 5 years. I've got ideas what I want to do. And to be honest, a lot of what I'm planning to do does look like scaling back. Does it mean stopping? No. I don't really know when the time comes of having kids. I don't actually know what I want to do in terms of working. That will be a whole nother conversation. I suppose it's really hard to know what you want to do. Like, I do love my business and I don't really love the idea of giving it up completely. But then, the whole idea of being self-employed is that you can take time off and then dip back into it. So I will say that is something that is really important to understand, that like your business will go through a lot of changes, and that is the point of it, right? And also trying to find what works for you. It will be so different for different people. Some people may be watching this being like, well, I love seeing 6 clients a day. Good for you. That's incredible, because I didn't. I didn't, and it wasn't good for me. So yeah, I don't want to be a girl boss anymore. I want to be a girl with a bit more time to live life. Rather than having to miss out on things because of work and whatever. I've done that. And yeah, making my business kind of make it feel good again. And it has. Especially I'd say the last 6 months, when I started taking Thursdays off, things started to feel really, really good again. But I do encourage all of you guys that are watching to just reflect on your definition of success. Is it from what you genuinely think is what success looks like? Is it what you've maybe been taught? Is it what you think success should look like from social media? Because again, that could give you a really warped sense of what success should look like. Yeah, I think that's a nice way to end it, to be completely honest. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Please like, share, comment, review, subscribe, whatever you are listening to this on. It makes such a difference. And yeah, I thank everyone for listening again. But I will see you all in next week's episode. Have a lovely Sunday, guys.